Did you know that during the American Civil War, the US government didn't have Federal Secret Service, FBI, or a massive intelligence agency to protect the president or spy on enemies? Instead, they did something wild. They went out and hired private corporate security company called Pinkerton Detective Agency. The government handed millions of dollars to private business, gave them weapons, and told them to build a shadow surveillance network to track everyday citizens. Now, eventually, that private company grew so powerful and spent so much money tracking people, the US Congress had to step in and pass an actual federal law called Anti-Pinkerton Act, just to stop private corporations from running the nation's law enforcement. The government told us that privatization was just temporary war measure. They promised the public that the corporate money would eventually leave our justice system. But 100 years later, history is repeating itself because we stopped paying attention. This week, the president just signed a law locking in staggering $70 billion enforcement cash part that insulates the system for years. At the exact same moment, the government warrantless spying machine just collapsed on the House floor. A brand new attorney general is taking over the Department of Justice, and one of the wealthiest tech billionaire on earth was forced behind closed doors to explain his private ties to an elite black male ring. Now, when we look at the surface, these look like four completely different random headlines Voices with Anissa is bringing to you. But we're going to connect the dots, so stay till the end. Welcome back to Voices with Anissa. It is Friday, June 12th, and this is your Friday Domestic Hub News. Subscribe now, hit the notification bell, look at the raw data. Let's get to it. Now, we're going to start with the $70 billion, the Secure American Act. The administration officially signed it into law, injecting a staggering $70 billion directly into interior enforcement and broader infrastructure through the year 2029. Now, how is this money actually distributed? The law allocates $38 billion specifically to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and $26 billion to Customs Borders Protection, CBP. Republican lawmakers successfully used budget reconciliation mechanisms to pass the bill into a narrow 214 to 212 vote, intentionally bypassing months of Democratic oppositions. What this means for us is that the administration has completely Democrat-proved its interior enforcement budget for the full remainder of its term. This funding in the long-term expansion of interior detentions facilities guarantees thousands of new active field agents and integrates local police coordination network across the country. This isn't just about border security measure. It's a massive, highly insulated cash injection that permanently solidifies the mechanic power of the domestic deportation machine, completely shielding it from future congressional budget battles. While the enforcement state secured a massive financial victory, the surveilling state just hit an unexpected wall on Capitol Hill. The House representative completely failed to pass an extension of Section 702 of Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or FISA. Now, Section 702 is a highly controversial law that allows intelligence agencies to conduct warrantless electronic surveillance on foreign targets, a practice that routinely sweeps up sensitive domestic emails, text messages, and phone records of millions of American citizens who happen to communicate with individuals abroad. Now, Speaker Mike Johnson attempted to jam through a short-term, no-reform extension of the law to keep the program alive, but in a stunning rare display of bipartisan resistance, civil liberties-focused Republicans and progressive Democrats locked arms and voted it down. Now, because of this failure, the statutory authority for FISA Section 702 is set to officially lapse tonight. Now, this doesn't mean that the agencies will shut off their screens tomorrow morning. The Foreign Intelligence Service Surveillance Court already quietly issued a year-long certification authorizing collections through approximately March 2027, meaning the actual spying operations are technically locked in for the next few months. But this legislative collapse is a historic shift. It proves that the establishment can no longer easily steamroll constitutional privacy rights without facing a fierce bipartisan rebellion from lawmakers who are demanding permanent requirements to protect everyday citizens from federal overreach. Now, subscribe to the channel right now. We track corporate news patterns so you can see how these policies shift connect directly to our daily lives and our privacy and our communities. Drop a like, let us know what would you like to be spoken about during our domestic segments on Fridays. While Congress battled over digital privacy, one of the tech's most powerful elites forced to answer for his private association, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates appeared before the House Oversight Committee this week, facing hours of intense questioning regarding his extensive past relationship with the late disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein. In his prepared opening remarks, Gates called his interaction with Epstein a grave mistake or a grave error in judgment and stated that he should have never met with Epstein in the first place. Gates maintained that his intentions were strictly philanthropic, claiming that he was drawn by Epstein's promises to help raise billions of dollars for global health initiatives. He stated under oath that he never visited a private island, ranch, or Florida homes and emphasized that he never victimized anyone. But lawmakers pushed back very hard. Committee's members pointed directly to unsealed calendars, emails, and photos documenting multiple meetings that occurred after Epstein's initial 2008 conviction for horrific sex crimes involving minors. Representative called Gates' continued interaction horrific judgment call. Gates countered by stating that Epstein actively tried to layer lies and use information about Gates' past infidelities to pressure him into re-engaging. This closed-door testimony demonstrated that even the most insulated elites are finding it impossible to escape the gravity of unsealing these files. Sadly, nothing more is being done. We're going to end our Friday News Hub tonight. The epicenter of federal law enforcement, the White House has officially announced the formal nomination of Todd Blanche to serve as the permanent Attorney General of the U.S. Blanche, the president's former personal defense attorney, has been running the Department of Justice in acting capacity since April, following the abrupt filing of Palm Bondi, as we already covered in this channel. Chairman Chuck Grassley announced that the Senate Judiciary praising Blanche's commitment to law and order. But the nomination is igniting a fierce domestic political firestorm. Senate critics are pointing directly to the Internal Justice Department memo signed under Blanche's acting tenure that permanently blocks the IRS and federal prosecutors from auditing or pursuing past tax claims against the Trump family and the Trump organization. This nomination means that the president's primary personal legal defender is now on track to fully confirmed as Chief of Law Enforcement Office of the nation. It represents total structural realignment of the DOJ, placing the absolute apparatus of federal prosecution under a tightly loyal ally. Now, the puzzle pieces fit together. Remember the Pickenton? The government handed millions to private entity, built massive surveillance dragnet, and the rule didn't apply to people at the top. Look at the board today, and the very moment the executive branch secures a permanent untouched $70 billion budget to enforce immigration trackings through 2029. And the exact same time, the system tries to slide through a warrantless spy bill. But rare structural fracture happens in the legislature, where everyday privacy advocates successfully push back and force the expiration of those powers. This is the blueprint of nations re-engineering its rule of power, surveillance, and accountability in real time. The cash is flowing, The surveillance is fighting back and the immunity is being locked in. This is Friday's Domestic Hub, your permanent home for truth. Remember, Monday we'll post about immigration guide. Share this briefing with someone who refuses to be blind to the system. Drop a thought in the comments below. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and I leave you in the care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Fi amanillah.